What's up everyone, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm the Croc Nick, and I'm going to do another response video. So, not too long ago, I did the 10 terrible albums that weren't Saint Anger, and then we did 10 terrible songs on 10 great albums. So now, we're going to do 10 great songs on 10 terrible albums, which kind of ties into both, because I do bring up some of the albums I brought up in the terrible albums list, and yeah, it kind of flips the whole dynamic here. So here I am defending some terrible albums, and believe me, I found some. And only 2 of them, I believe, repeat from my original video. So this was an interesting challenge because I really had to sift through and find some terrible albums where I didn't legit hate everything. So yeah, this was tough because some of these tracks, while they're good, it's like taking a bite out of a shit sandwich and luckily only getting bread, because it's still a shit sandwich. So yeah, I have 10 albums here from 9 different bands. I did have one band that repeated just because they both had one track that I liked on 2 pretty bad albums. But let's just get into this so I can go back to never having to listen to these, except for maybe that one track that I'll bring up ever again. Machine Head, Supercharger. This is one of the repeats. The only track I can defend on here is Bulldozer. It's the second track after you get past the stupid intro, you know, electrical sounds, because it's Supercharger, because clever. This whole album pretty much just takes the biggest downward slide, tumble, fall, every bone broken when you land pretty much after Bulldozer. Bulldozer is a solid track. It's got a great signature riff, big kind of hardcore groove to it. Easily the best song on here because everything else just fucking sucks, dude. You get down to American High and Brown Acid, you just want to give the fuck up, like almost on the band entirely. Luckily they did do better after this. And then they somehow did just as bad as this in a different fashion later, but I didn't pick up that shit album, so I can't bring it up. So yeah, after Bulldozer on this, it is the equivalent of going down a long water slide filled with raw sewage and broken glass, because it's shitty and it kind of hurts a little bit, especially if you like the band. But yeah, Bulldozer is a pretty solid track. I do like it, and the rest of the album fucking sucks. So yeah, check out that track and then literally nothing else, because bad, terrible. Don't check it out. Slayer, Diabolus in Musica. Okay, in terms of all the albums that I brought up on that 10 terrible albums, this is probably the one that got the most people that came to its defense. And I get it. There are people out there that do like this album. I'm definitely not one of them. But I will defend Bitter Peace as probably the best track on here. I know there's some faster tracks that are good. Points is alright, and Scrum's a fast song about rugby, I think. I don't know. But Bitter Peace is the lone song in here that I say, yeah, that is 100% Slayer, being Slayer, and just whooping ass. Great riffs. I love the drum work on it. Everything just sounds tight, but the rest of the album is the rest of the album. I wish I had more nice things to say about this album, but I still just flat out don't like it. It's just a dull, boring album, and yeah, the new metal song, Staying in Mind, new metal-ish. I don't know, there's people that still defend that one as like, it's not new metal. It's like, it's got that kind of corn riff on it. But yeah, it's just a dull album, and following Divine Intervention, yeah. And then at least God Hates Us All was a lot better. But yeah, Bitter Peace, solid song, absolutely whoops ass. I still keep that song in relatively high rotation. I don't turn it off when it comes on. But yeah, rest of it, not so great. But again, if you love it, you love it. So I'm gonna go back to not loving it. Anthrax, Volume 8, The Threat is Real. This is one I thought about bringing up on the 10 terrible albums that weren't Saint Anger, but I do have some soft spots. But in terms of saying one track is great, it's the opener, Crush. I love the drum work, that tribal percussion that goes through it, and it's just got a big chuggy heavy riff that carries it. And John Bush sounds great singing anything, I think. That dude just has one of my favorite voices in metal, period, in rock in general. Like, he's just a great singer. This is a solid song, and then The rest of it is really a mixed bag. Ah, God. Like, A Toast to the Extras is fucking cringe-worthy. Piss and Vinegar is, I don't know, like a tough guy song with a cowbell. Not a lot of great stuff on here, and it's a really uneven album, and it just feels like they were kind of lost. And they kind of were. Like, this came out in '98, and yeah, this wasn't a great time to be in a thrash metal band or a death metal band, maybe a nu metal band, which you could definitely say they tried that too on here. But Crush is a solid song. I guess you could say it's a little nu metal-y, but it's at least heavy and really percussive and driving, and then the rest of the album kind of falls off the table a bit. But yeah, Crush is a good song. Rest of the album, it may have its fans. This is one of the weakest links in the entire discography for me, but I love me some Anthrax. I just don't listen to this one very much. But Crush rules. So yeah, check out Crush. Metallica, Load. Man, I have given this album so many chances to grow on me, and it hasn't. But one track on here, Bleeding Me, stands out as a really well-written track. It's very moody, kind of doomy, more of a rock song, but it's still pretty heavy. A lot of this album is more of just like a heavy rock vibe. It actually, you know, kind of reminds me more of like Corrosion Conformity. In fact, if this was a COC album, I might like it more, but there are still some songs here that's, no. This was their big, I guess, alternative gamble, and I mean, I don't need to say much about this album. It's more than likely still reviled by most. I know there are definitely fans of this album, and I could see why some people would appreciate this. This is, well, it's not Saint Anger. That's something that this album has going for it. It's not Reload, which I think is worse, and I honestly couldn't pull a track off of there that I really liked, because that's just extra crap from this, essentially. But this is still crap. But I do like Bleeding Me. I think, again, well-written song. It's just, it's stuck on this shit album. So yeah, if you were going to jam one track off of Load, I would recommend Bleeding Me and then Turning It Off. That's a great track in there, Turning Off the album. It's not listed on there, but Turning Off the album, best track in there. All you have to do is just hit eject on your CD player if you have one of those, if you're a relic like me, and just yeet that thing across the room, and then you heard Bleeding Me. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, check out that song at least. But yeah, not a great album. Megadeth, The World Needs a Hero. Now, this isn't my least favorite Megadeth album, because I don't own Risk, because it's a giant pile of shit, and I doubt I could find anything I liked on it, because I just refuse to own it. But I did get this one, which came after Risk, and this was supposed to be billed as like, oh, this is, you know, Dave Mustaine's big comeback. He's getting back into metal, and I was super excited because, I mean, that cover screams it's gonna be heavy. It's, yeah, like a watered down version of Countdown to Extinction, which I do love that album, but this is like Diet That. It's like a little bit heavier than Euthanasia, but like the heart and the songs is not really there. But the one saving grace, and it's a whoop-ass song, is Return to Hangar. He did a sequel to Hangar 18, and granted, it's not as good as the original, but few songs are, but it's a worthy sequel. It has probably the lone thrash metal, like, you know, moments on it. Like, it gets fast, it gets, you know, gallopy, there are lead trade-offs. It feels like Megadeth again. But the rest of the album feels like Dave trying to creep his way on the radio. Like, me, I'm the guy that wrote Trust. You guys liked that song, didn't you? Well, I got one this time called Moto Psycho. Guess what it's about? Something stupid. Sorry, Dave. I have to make fun of this one. But yeah, there's not much on here that really is anything memorable at all. This is just kind of a filler album until we get to the next album, which I think was so much better. But yeah, this did have one shining moment, and it really stands out from the rest of the album. Like, it is literally this beacon shining on a hill, but the hill is covered in dog shit. Again, I really wish I had nicer things to say about this, but I felt so jilted when I got it because this was supposed to be the comeback, and it definitely wasn't. But he did tease some of the stuff that was coming, at least, like, you know, getting back to the former glories, at least. But yeah, check out Return of the Hangar. It is a legit badass song. Rest of the album, you can just skip it. It's really not worth listening to, honestly. Coal Chamber music. Talk about your sophomore slumps. I was so excited when this came out because I do still like the first one. It's dumb and it's very basic, but it's also very fun and definitely something of an acquired taste, and definitely something that was echoing one particular era in terms of music, but it's still fun. This was terrible. A giant bloated album that pretty much showcased that these guys weren't the best songwriters or musicians, and when they pushed themselves to be more creative, they really couldn't get great songs, because this album is loaded with bad songs. 16 of them, too. 16 tracks on this thing. And the only track that I legit like on here is Tyler's song, which was Dez's song to his kid. And actually, it's one of the most cohesive songs on here. It doesn't feel messy and poorly written. It doesn't have unnecessary guest stars, because that Shock the Monkey cover is fucking awful. But rather, it actually has some heartfelt lyrics, and, you know, the whole theme of father looking out for his son and passing on wisdom and so on. I like the song. It has a really good chorus on it. The lyrics, profound, simple, but direct. A good solid riff, a good solid melody. And then somehow they managed to fuck that up on the rest of this album, because literally, I think every other track on here was just about terrible. Yeah, like even El Cucoy, which was, you know, supposed to be like one of the big ones they teased in all the advertisements with the kill the man, become the monster. Yeah, literally, that's the only cool part of that song. The rest of the song's just sloppy. But yeah, Tyler's song is a legit, really good song, and not just like good for nu metal. I think it's a legit, well-written song, but everything else on here is just a fucking train wreck. But this band was kind of a train wreck at the time. Like, a lot of drugs, a lot of just souring relationships. I think Shannon Osbourne was managing them. That's generally a problem. But yeah, one more album after this. They broke up, reunited, put out another album, and no one really cared about it. And then Des went back to Devil Driver, and I still like Devil Driver. So yeah, Tyler's song, good song. Rest of the album, don't. It's not really worth it. Morgoth, Feel Sorry for the Fanatic. I don't know what Morgoth was thinking, but they started off as an awesome death metal band, very much in that vein of, you know, German death metal bands that really wanted to sound like Death, and who could blame them? Death sounded amazing. Their early stuff is flat out amazing. The album before this is a little different, but still pretty decent. And then this happened, which, God, I don't even know what to call this. Like, I guess you could say it's slightly more alternative. I mean, it did come out in 1996, and that was kind of the thing, but it still had heavier moments, but it wasn't good, like, really at all. It was really uneven, and it kind of just felt like they were lost. Like, they had to discover a new sound because the whole market had changed, and they were afraid of not being relevant, and they wanted to keep making music, so they made this, and, well, the fans they had already earned really didn't like it. But I happen to like the song Last Laugh. That was the first song I ever heard because it was on a Identity sampler from Century Media, and I like that song. I think it's actually pretty well written. I love the dissonant kind of doomy riffs that kind of go throughout it, and it has like a proggy flair, like a really simplified Enslaved kind of vibe to it. And honestly, like, some of the vocals kind of remind me a bit of Killing Joke, and I love Killing Joke. But the rest of this album, they just couldn't seem to get that vibe together that they had on that track on the rest of the album, and it just comes off as forced. Like, we're gonna strike it rich in a new sound. Which one? Go to the dartboard and keep throwing until we hit something. That is the general feel on this, and it comes off as just a bad, kind of weird album. But Last Laugh, surprisingly, is good. I don't know why they couldn't fucking repeat that formula, because honestly, that could have been a really good album, you know, outside of their death metal stuff. But it turned out to be kind of a shit show. So yeah, I would still say definitely check out Last Laugh. I think that's a really good track. I don't know, there's a lot of people that really hate this album. I'm still kind of one of them, but I can defend Last Laugh because I think that one is actually pretty well written, and it has some really cool elements that I like in other music, not necessarily Morgoth, because Morgoth would get back to the death metal up until they broke up again, which, you know, they broke up not too long after this one, I believe. There's a lot of breakups and reformations with this band, but they are currently broken up, so maybe they'll reunite, but I doubt they'll be playing anything off of this, and that's probably for the best, even though Last Laugh, pretty good song. But yeah, check out that song, and then, again, literally nothing else on this album, because it's not good. Unleashed, Warrior. Fuck. We were just talking about this when we reviewed the new Unleashed album, which is thankfully good. This is one of the shit ones. This is possibly my least favorite. I don't know. There's a run of 3 albums that is so goddamn bad. But this one, I don't know, really just rubs me the wrong way. This is one of the dumbest albums in death metal I've heard, and it's just kind of all over the place. Like, it's punky, it's just dumb. Like, media whore and death metal victory. Stupid songs. There's a lot of stupid on this. This album is bordering on unlistenable. Save one track, which is surprisingly really good, and the rest of the album is just fucking unlistenable to me. The instrumental Löngt Nid, which I don't know if that translates to good song. It should, because it's the only one on here that really sounds well put together. Like, it has some solid death metal riffs, really cool melodies. Like, it actually has some cool dynamics and like song building to it, and literally none of that really shows up on the rest of the album. Like, this screams the only one that they were just kind of all in on flat out death metal, because the rest of this is, I don't know, kind of flirting with hardcore and punk, but not good hardcore and punk, like bad hardcore and punk, for lack of a better comparison. It almost feels like it was written for a different album, like this was left over from, you know, the first 2 albums. But they decided to throw it on here because this was going to be the lipstick on the pig, I guess. Because this thing is pig shit. Like, this is a really bad album, and I don't get it, because those first 2 albums were really good. Second one's, you know, not as good as the first one, but still, this was like such a dive in quality. And it would kind of stay there until they got their shit back together on Midvinterblot, I believe. That was the one that, you know, started sounding good again. But yeah, this album is flat out terrible. But Löngt Nid, I'm probably saying that wrong, is actually a good track. It's a solid instrumental, and the only reason to listen to this. So this will go back on the shelf until we rank Unleashed albums at some point in the future, and I'll have to listen to it again so I can write honest notes about how much I don't like this album. So yeah, check out that song. I'm gonna leave links to the songs that I think are good on this, but trust me, don't go any further than those songs, especially on this one. Dear God, it's dumb. But yeah, check out that song. It's good. Rest of the album, big pile of dog shit. All right, and we have our pair, and it's Black Sabbath, and I don't like speaking ill of Black Sabbath, but I'm gonna have to, because both of these albums are really bad. Like, these are the worst of the Ozzy era for damn sure, at least in my opinion. I legit cannot see how people would have these albums over, like, you know, Paranoid, Master of Reality, Sad Place, Sabbath. Like, I just don't see it. But to each their own. But they do have some saving graces. Technical Ecstasy, Dirty Women, is a fucking awesome track, and I believe Geezer wrote the lyrics while he was walking around in Miami, and he just saw prostitutes, and it was like, hey, it's prostitutes, I want to write a song about it. I think that's literally the story, plus probably a pile of cocaine. That probably contributed. But yeah, it's an awesome song. It's probably the heaviest song on here, and it's the only one that really feels flat out Sabbathy. Like, Backstreet Kids is a pretty decent opener, and it is kind of heavy, but it's kind of a different heavy. Like, it's, you know, kind of fast and almost kind of like Thin Lizzy-ish in a way. This song, Dirty Women, feels like Black Sabbath just doing what Black Sabbath does well, and the riff that Tony has in here is so damn good. Great song. Not great album, but at least you have that song, and it is legit great. Now, for Never Say Die, Surprisingly, it's not Never Say Die. I do like that song, but I think the best song on here is Junior's Eyes. Junior's Eyes is a earnest song, and literally it has the best chorus on the entire album. Like, Never Say Die has a good anthemic chorus, and I think it is a good song. But Junior's Eyes feels just solid. Like, it's a well-written song. There's great guitar work. There's a huge, big melody on the chorus. The verses are really well written. I jam that song a lot, and then I don't jam much else on this. It's just a strange, uneven album. It's definitely the sound of a band falling apart at the time. You know, relationships have pretty much soured completely. The recording process, this was pretty awful, I believe, too. But that one song really came through as great. It's a well-written song, and you can definitely feel the weight of the subject matter, and I think that really matters. But yeah, the rest of this is just... oh man, fucking turkey. It's a bad album. It's really uneven. It's just all over the place. It's more like a compilation of ideas that really didn't, you know, get nurtured to adulthood and turn into actual songs. They're just like, well, riff it out until, you know, we can stop. But yeah, jam those songs from these albums. They're not great albums. These are definitely bottom tier albums for me in terms of Black Sabbath. This one got a fucking deluxe treatment, and I still am scratching my head as to why. I know it was probably the anniversary, but fuck, you don't even have the Master of Reality deluxe one. I would have bought that already. It would have been right up there someplace, being awesome. This album doesn't deserve like a deluxe reissue, and neither does this one, so don't even fucking think about it. They both have one great song apiece. That does not denote a deluxe reissue, so yeah, this one shouldn't happen, this one better not. But yeah, check out those songs though, they're pretty damn great. Alright, this was actually pretty fun. I definitely want to throw out some shout outs to Thrash Maniac 99 and Quest for Metal. They both did these. I don't know if anyone else originally did these beforehand, but those are the ones that I saw, and I didn't watch you guys' videos because I wanted to record mine and then watch yours, so I didn't actually get influenced by them or, you know, get pissed off because like, oh, I like that album, it's a good album, fuck you guys. But I'm not the type of person to write those comments, but I might think that for just a second. But yeah, now that I've done this, I am definitely going to check out your guys' video, and I'm going to leave links to both their channels in the description down below, so definitely check those guys out if you haven't checked them out. I know a lot of people know Quest for Metal. He's got a great channel, but Thrash Maniac 99 is kind of branching out into the whole metal subgenre here lately. He's been doing a lot of reviews and collection updates, and he's got a fucking big heart for metal, and been picking up a lot of cool stuff, so yeah, definitely check out his channel as well. So before I go into the ending spiel, let me know what you guys think are, you know, great songs on bad albums. I'd love to actually hear some other ones out there too, because this one was fun. It definitely made me think, and unfortunately made me sift through some bad fucking albums in my collection again. But, I mean, overall, it was pretty damn fun. So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there will be a link down below. We also have t-shirts for sale, and we will eventually be getting some different merch, and thank you guys for your suggestions, and we're willing to take more suggestions in terms of merch that you guys would like. Because after all, this stuff is for you guys to purchase, and we want you to look at least moderately cool. Well, like kind of cool. As cool as you can look wearing anything with our brand on it. I don't know how cool that is, but hopefully it's kind of cool. But as always, I thank you all for watching. You guys fucking rule, and we will catch you later.